Hello everyone, I am Priyal Modi from Acropolis Institute of Research and Technology. Today I am going to explain you the loops and conditional statements in JavaScript. Loops and conditional statements are essential control structure in JavaScript that dictate the program's execution flow based on condition or repetition of needs. Loops. Loops are control structure in JavaScript that allows you to execute a block of code repeatedly, either for a fixed number of times or as long as a specified condition evaluates to true. Loops are an important part of JavaScript that helps us run the block of code multiple times without writing it again and again. They are useful for doing repetitive tasks like going through a list of items, adding up numbers, or printing something multiple times. Instead of writing the same code repeatedly, we use loops to make our program shorter and easier to manage. Types of loops. Basically, there are 5 types of loops: for loop, while loop, do while loop, for in loop, and the last one is for of loop. Now we will see one by one what is for loop. For loop is one of the most commonly used loop in JavaScript that it is a deal for scenarios where the number of iteration is known beforehand. It allows you to repeat a block of code for a specific number of times, making it perfect for tasks like iterating through arrays, performing calculations, or generating repeated outputs. Now we will see the structure of a for loop. For loop mainly consists of 3 parts: initialization, condition, increment or decrement. Initialization. This part initializes a variable to control the loop condition. This part defines the condition that must be true for the loop to continue running. Increment decrement. This part updates the variable after the iteration. While loop. The while loop in JavaScript is used to execute a block of code repeatedly as long as a specified condition is true. Unlike the for loop, it is more flexible and is deal for scenarios where the number of iteration is not predetermined but depends on dynamic conditions. How does the while loop work? It basically includes 3 steps: condition evaluation, repetition, termination. Condition evaluation. Before the code block inside the loop is executed, the loop first checks if the condition is true. If the condition evaluates to true, the loop executes the block of code. Repetition. Once the condition is true, the code inside the loop runs. After the code executes, the loop goes back to check the condition again. Termination. This process continues until the condition evaluates to the false, at which point the loop terminates. The program continues with the next line of code after the loop. Now we will see the flowchart of while loop. Initialization. First we initializes the variable, then we will do a while loop condition. If the condition is false, we will exit the code program will exit from the loop. If the condition is true, the execute the statement, and after that increment and decrement. Then again it will go the to check the condition. Here it is the syntax of while loop. Example. You can see the example here. Do while loop. Do while loop is similar to the while loop but with one key difference. And what is the difference? It guarantees that the code block inside the loop is executed at least once, even if the condition is false at the beginning. This is because The condition is checked after the code execution, not before. How does the do while loop work? First step, code execution first. In a do while loop, the block of code inside the loop runs first, regardless of whether the condition is true or false. Second step, condition evaluation. After the first execution, the loop checks the condition. If the condition evaluates to true, the code inside loop run again. This repeats as long as the condition is true. Termination. When the condition evaluates to false, the loop terminates and the program continues to execute. The after the loop. Do while loop. Syntax. Here it is the syntax of the do while loop, and this is the flowchart of the do while loop. You can see an example that let count is equals to 1. We are initializing the variable count, then do console log count print. This statements print the 1 2 3 4 as a output, and then increment occurs. After that, the condition will check. The output first will be 1 2 3 and 4. For in loop. The for in loop is a special loop in JavaScript that is used to iterate over the properties of an object or the indexes of an array. It is primarily designed for working with objects but can also be used with arrays, though it is less common in modern JavaScript due to potential issues. How does the for in loop work? The for in loop iterates through innumerable properties of an object or the indexes of an array. During each iteration, the loop assigns the property name to a variable which can be used within the loop body. For in loop syntax. This is the syntax of for in loop, and it is an example. You can see the example here. For of loop. The for of loop is used to go through the values of items in things like arrays, string, maps, and the sets. It is simple to use and make it easy to work with the actual content of these collections. It directly retrieves the value of the collection, making it better choice when working with these data structures. The for of loop simplifies the code and improves readability by eliminating the need to access values through indices or keys manually. How it works. It looks at each item in the list and gives you the actual value. You can use the value inside the loop to do whatever you need, like printing it, adding it, subtracting it, and processing it. Now, the syntax of for of loop. It is the syntax of for of loop, and this is the example you can see here. Now, we will see the conditional statements in JavaScript. Conditional statements in JavaScript are used to make decisions in the program based on certain conditions. These statements allow the code to execute different blocks of code depending on whether a specified condition evaluates to true or false. They are an essential part of any programming language, enabling dynamic and logical decision making in application. Based on the result of the conditions, different blocks of code can be executed, skipped, or repeated. This decision-making capability makes JavaScript more interactive, logical, and versatile. Now we will see the types of conditional statements. First one, if statement, if-else statement, else-if ladder, switch statement, ternary operator. We will see one by one about each statement. First, the first one is if statement. The if statement is one of the most basic and widely used conditional statements in JavaScript. It is used to execute the block of code only when a specified condition evaluates to true. If the condition is false, the code inside the if block is skipped and the program continues with the next statements outside the block. This makes the if statement an essential tool for decision making in programs as it allows developers to control the flow of execution based on certain conditions. Syntax of if statement. If in bracket condition, then the code to execute if condition is true. Condition is a Boolean expression that evaluates to either true or false. The curly braces is the block is optional if there is only one statement to execute, but it is a good practice to write the curly braces in a code. Example of if statement. Let age equals to 18 if condition, that is age is greater than equals to 18, then we will get the output as you are eligible to vote. The flowchart for if statement is entry, condition. If the condition is false, then exit. If the condition is true, then print the statement. If else statement. The if-else statement is a fundamental conditional statement in JavaScript that allows the program to choose between two alternative blocks of code based on whether a specified condition evaluates to true or false. While the if statement executes the block of code only when the condition is true. The if-else statement extends this functionality by providing an alternative block to execute when the condition is false. How if-else statement works? Let us see. The program first evaluates the condition, the if statement. If the condition is true, the code inside the if block is executed. If the condition is false, the code inside the else block is executed. If-else statement syntax. If condition, if the condition is true, then this block of code will going to execute. If the condition is false, then the else part of the code will be executed. Here it is an example you can see, and this is the flow chart. If the condition is true, then conditional code will be executed. If the condition is false, then else part of the code will going to execute it, then terminates the loop. Else if ladder. The else if ladder in JavaScript is an extension of the if else statement, allowing multiple conditions to be checked sequentially. It is useful when there are more than two possible outcomes and you need to evaluate multiple conditions before executing the corresponding block of code. The else if ladder provides a structured way to handle several conditions one after the other by checking each condition in order. How it works? The program evaluates the condition in the if and subsequent else if blocks one by one. The first condition that evaluates to true will execute its corresponding block of code. If no condition is true, the else block will be executed as default action. Syntax. If condition 1, then this will be executed. If this is true, then this will execute it. If this is true, then this will execute it. If this If not nothing is true, then this will be executed. Here the flowchart of the else if ladder you can see. Now we will see the switch statements. Switch statement is in JavaScript is another type of conditional statement used to evaluate an expression to execute different code blocks based on value of that expression. It is an alternative to using multiple if-else or else-if statements, especially when there are multiple possible values for a single variable or expression. The switch statement is typically used when you need to compare the same expression to multiple possible values. How the switch statement works. The switch statement evaluates an expression and compare it against the different case values. If a match is found, the corresponding block of code executes. If no match is found, the default block of code will execute. Switch statement syntax. Switch, expression, then case. Value 1, break, case, break. You can see the syntax, and this is the flowchart of switch statement. Ternary operator. The ternary operator is a concise way to perform conditional operations in JavaScript. It is a shorthand for the if-else statement and is often used when you want to execute one of two expressions based on a condition. The ternary operator evaluates a condition and returns one of two values. One if the condition is true and another if the condition is false. How does the ternary operator works? The ternary operators consist of three parts, hence the name ternary. A condition that is evaluated, a value or a code to execute if the condition is true, a value or a code to execute if the condition is false. Ternary operator syntax. Condition. If the expression is true, then print this, else if the condition is false, then print this. If the condition evaluates to true, the expression following the question mark is executed. If the condition evaluates to false, the expression following the colon is executed. Here it is the flowchart for the ternary operator. Thank you so much guys for listening me. I hope you will understand everything. Thank you so much.